Hey, it's Zach, and I'm back with another episode of Elevate and Accelerate. With the holidays now behind us, we're at the beginning of a new year, literally standing at the threshold of possibility. My kids are 8, 6, and 4, and so the holiday season is really a magical time for our family. And my wife and I do our best to instill in our kids the spirit of Christmas. Our faith talks about celebrating Christmas as a time of Jesus's birth, but in addition to that, we really also want our kids to understand that the value of connection and spending time with family and gratefulness and having a heart of giving is also a part of this holiday season. But the truth is, they are still just in it for the presents, but we try. It was while I was reflecting on this idea of giving during the holidays that it influenced my focus for today's episode. So, we're going to talk about giving. What are you giving to your audience? My kids do enjoy giving gifts and picking out gifts to give to each other and to their cousins and aunts and uncles and things, but they are really primarily concerned with what they are going to get. It's what they're thinking about, it's what they talk about. And while they get excited about giving gifts, really they're just concerned with what they get. Now, I would say this is because they are kids, and so it's almost expected, right? They are self focused as they should be at this age. And yet, I see a lot of similarities between them and entrepreneurs, specifically when it comes to their business, really, primarily when it comes to the business. As business owners, you need to look for ways to get. Right? Revenue is the lifeblood of your business, and how you can afford to pay your bills, put food on your table, compensate your employees. However, what are you giving to your audience? It's easy to focus on what to get. How can I sell this? How can I sell more of that? How can I get more leads so that I can sell? And so you have to drive your business around this idea of what you can get. But I want to change your focus to think about what can you give? This is one of the several important roles that content plays in your brand and marketing strategy. So we're going to dive into how you can use content to authentically build your authority, trust, and value in the marketplace for your audience. Now, when we talk about building authority, what exactly does that mean? It means that you need to position yourself as the go-to expert in your industry, the person that people turn to when they need answers or solutions or inspiration. And let me tell you, the fastest, most impactful way to establish that authority is through consistent and high value content. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about the role of content in building authority. First things, content isn't just a buzzword. You've probably heard this a bunch of times, right? Content is king, right? We've also heard cash is king, and really whatever else people want to talk about as king, they throw that in there. But content really is the lifeblood of your brand. Every post you share, every video you create, every email you send, these are all opportunities for you to connect with your audience, to showcase your expertise, and to provide them with some value. And in today's digital world, the authority is built in public. Now, while word of mouth is still a valuable tool in building your business, it is slow. Business cards get thrown in the trash. And so, how you capture the attention of your audience, how you stand out from the competition, and how you show the world that you are uniquely qualified to serve them because of the experiences that you've been through and the expertise that you hold, you need to do that through your content. If you want people to trust you, they need to see you, they need to hear you. And most importantly, they need to feel like you understand their challenges and have the answers that they're searching for. If you think about the most influential people within your industry, what do they all have in common? I could bet that they all show up consistently with content that educates, inspires, or entertains. They're not just in the conversation, they're leading it. So how do you do this as a business owner? This is a good example, right? This podcast or YouTube video that we use to create content. Now, often people ask me, well, how's your podcast going? How many people are watching it? My primary objective here is not to get more and more followers. That's something that I could essentially pay for. I could advertise this podcast and put it in front of the faces of a bunch of people that probably aren't a qualified prospect. Rather, this content serves as a tool that we can use and that our business agents can use to give to our clients to help further educate and provide value to them for the things that they're either already doing with us or considering to do with us. How do you build a personal brand? How do you build a celebrity expert brand? How do you use media and marketing and PR, the business trifecta, to really grow your business and build trust in the marketplace? Well, that is the topic of this conversation. That is the topic of this podcast, how to elevate your brand to accelerate your journey to success. And so I continue to provide that value, I hope, to an audience that sees that, and the right person will hear it at the right time. Now, relevance and consistency is going to equal impact. These are the two ingredients that make content truly effective. It needs to be relevant and it needs to be consistent. Relevance just means that you understand your audience. What are the pain points? What are their goals? What is keeping them up at night? And so your content should meet them exactly where they are, and then offer solutions or insights or a fresh perspective into what they could be doing differently or what they can add to their repertoire to advance themselves further. Now, consistency is all about building trust. This is true in any type of relationship. You need to be consistent in order to build a deeper level of trust within any relationship, including in your business. It's showing up day in and day out, or week in or week out, or month in and month out, whatever your cadence is for producing content, so your audience knows that they can rely on you. So you can't just post once and then expect to become an authority overnight. It's about building that relationship over time. Imagine you're following someone who shares amazing tips for growing their business, but they only post every few months and it's sporadic. Maybe it's 2 months here, 3 months there, 5 months there. You start to lose your ability to be able to follow them, to pay attention to what they have to say, because it's not consistent. You don't know exactly when they're going to show up. And so you start searching for a different place where you might be able to get that same or similar information when you're ready for it and when you need it. Now, compare that to somebody who delivers value week after week after week, or at least on a consistent basis, they show up and that expectation is being met. Who are you more likely to follow? Who are you going to be more likely to trust, right? The one that is at least consistent, because you know what to expect. And setting expectations and fulfilling on those expectations is integral to building that trust. Now, let's address something else, as we were talking about earlier, about what you want to get, right? Now, we're talking about building content so that you can establish trust within your marketplace, right? And so still this perspective is, I am doing something so that I can get this in return. Now, that is an important part of this process, because you are trying to build trust, because you do want to get back the opportunity to be able to help them with their problem. But you should be providing valuable content that isn't constantly asking for the sale as well. When you create content, you want to focus on providing that value without expecting anything in return. Your audience is good at spotting the sales pitch from a mile away, right? But when you lead with the generosity, right? When you lead with sharing your expertise, your story, the lessons, the stories of clients that you've been able to help, that's when people will start to see you as somebody that they want to learn from and also work with. It's not just about giving away the secret sauce of your business, right? It's about sharing enough to build trust and credibility. But it's when you're generous with your knowledge that your audience will come to you when they're ready to take that next step. And a lot of times they'll come to you asking for solutions that you may not even be offering yet. There's an opportunity when you provide value and when you're meeting people's needs, that they're going to come to you and ask, do you do this? Can you help me with that? And what you may realize is that a lot of your audience is desiring something from you that you don't currently have as an offer. And it gives you an opportunity to build new product lines into your sphere, for lack of a better word in the moment. So how do you start to build this content? How do you start to sit down and actually do it? As an entrepreneur, you are busy. Your time doing things is split between selling, fulfilling with clients, maybe even operations, payroll. I mean, you are wearing so many different hats. And so when can you have the time to sit down and actually record this content? There's two things that play an important role of being able to do this with your limited time. Number one is preparation, and number two is repurposing. Let's start with preparation. First and foremost, you need to know your audience. And the reality is you probably do already. You've sat down with enough clients, you've had enough conversations, and you've realized that most of their issues, most of their problems, most of their pain points are very, very similar. And while they're custom to each and every person, at the core, they're really looking for the same thing: safety, security, advancement, whatever it may be that's going to get them to the next level, right? That's what they're looking for. They want to see that vision that's going to help them get across the finish line, or to take their life and their business to a place that they didn't ever expect before. That's the value that you can provide. How do you prepare your content around that? Well, what are the things that they care about? What questions are they constantly asking you? What questions are you constantly answering? When you sit down for a discovery call, let's say with your prospect, what are the things that you're often talking about? Well, that's a good place to start for creating even short videos where you address those concerns, those questions, those lack of understanding points, where then you can send those videos to your prospects before you even have a meeting. And then when they sit down in that conversation with you, you spend less time convincing them that you're the right person to work with. You spend less time answering those initial questions that just are laying the groundwork for whether or not they even want to have a deeper conversation with you, like, what do I need to do in order to work with you? And so when you eliminate that, you start having better conversations when those conversations happen. And now you're talking more about their particular issues. You're talking more about how you can solve their particular problems and what the path to resolution looks like for them. So you sit down again in preparation and create a content plan. Decide on which platforms and topics and schedules and things that you're going to do. Is it going to be weekly? Is it going to be bi-weekly like this show is? Is it going to be monthly? The cadence doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is the consistency. We used to do monthly newsletters, right? And Jack, who was the co-founder of Celebrity Branding Agency, would also often talk about these newsletters as being an opportunity for our clients and prospects to sit down over a cup of coffee and get to know what's going on in our lives, right? And so we would share valuable information. We would talk about some of the events that we had. We would talk about some of our clients and some of the things that were going on. And so this became a consistent way in which we showed our audience a peek behind the curtain, a look at who we are and what we're doing behind the scenes, and in addition to the products that we sell and the opportunities and experiences that we offer. And so he always wanted these monthly newsletters to feel like sitting down for a cup of coffee with a good friend. And monthly worked, right? And we did that for a very long time. And things change, and so you move on and you adapt. And it went from a physical mailing newsletter to something like this, where content digitally is the way that you can disseminate those things and send it out in an email or send them to YouTube or whatever it might be. The idea here is not so much that you do it every single day or every single week, but that whatever cadence you pick, you stick with it. And that really is the hardest part. It does take a lot of discipline, especially when you're busy, to sit down and record content. But that brings us to the next part of this, of how you can really capitalize on what you're doing in your content, which is the repurposing. When you can repurpose your content, you check a whole lot more boxes than just the content box. So for example, once I am finished recording this episode, I'll send it to my team. They edit it. And then we put it into a program that helps to get the transcript. And so then we can use the transcript if we want to and turn it into a blog or an article. We can also edit this video into smaller clips, which we call snackables, that I share on social media. And so I go and schedule all those for the next 2 weeks. Every single day, I've got a video or a photo that's talking about this particular episode that goes out on all of my social media platforms. platforms. And then every week I send an email on Tuesday, which I call E&A Tuesday, which is Elevate and Accelerate Tuesday. I send an email to my list that talks about something of value for that week or shares a story or some insight. Sometimes it relates to the podcast and sometimes it doesn't, but it always links to the next available episode and invites people to be a guest on the show if they were so interested as well. And so these are all opportunities in which we can connect with our audience while also providing value. And now we're also checking the social media box, which is a huge one for most people. They're very inconsistent in the way that they engage with their social media audience because the daily trying to show up and post this thing and post that thing, it gets to be a lot. And so if you can schedule it, and if you can do it in your voice, and if you can do it with the content and things that you've already created, you can build a system off of this 1 hour, 40-minute, 30-minute long video and podcast that you created that gives you content that you can leverage over and over again for at least a month, if not more. So think about it this way. Content is more than just marketing. Again, it's how you can show up for your audience and build authority with them. Elevating your brand is the first step. How you accelerate your journey to success is also how you show them that you're an authority at that particular level. And how do you show somebody that you're an authority in your field if not through your content? Now, this also helps you to stay relevant, which is an important part of this concept. When I was doing research for a workshop I was teaching, I just wanted to see some of the people that were out there in my particular area. And so I Googled top business coaches in Philadelphia. And there were several lists that popped up, and I clicked through a bunch of them. And there were a number of websites that I went to visit to. And by and large, the majority of websites that I went to of people that were rated number one on these lists of top business coaches in Philadelphia had outdated and old looking websites. In fact, one that I went to was listed as the number one business coach in the area on one of these lists. I go to his website and it looked like he hadn't been in business for 5 or 6 years. The last post of content that he had was from like 2014. There was video content that was on there, but they were from 2011. The video quality was really bad. It was shot on some old camera. The angles were off. The lighting was bad. And all of it did not speak to me as a high level professional and somebody that I would be interested in hiring or even partnering with to help learn about my business or to do some work together. But this was somebody who was being touted as one of the top in the area. So the question is beyond just, was that a reputable list or not? But is this person even in business? If somebody shows up on your website, what type of relevancy are they seeing? When's the last time that you had valuable content? When's the last time it was relevant and you were talking about the things that were happening in the world today as it relates to your clients and your prospects? So again, building authority is all about that consistency and demonstrating your expertise. And it's going to be how you build trust. It's your story, it's your knowledge, it's your unique perspective that are your greatest assets. So you need to share them. And the right people are going to be the ones who take notice. You've probably heard it said before that some people need to hear things and most people need to hear it 13 times before they hear it for the first time. And so it's easy for us as the entrepreneur, the content creator, to get tired of talking about the same things or to think that our audience is tired of hearing about the same things. But the reality is that we're not talking to everybody. We're talking to that one person or handful of people that need to hear what we're saying right now. And what we're saying right now is and has the potential to change their life. They just need to be in a place where they're ready to take action. And so, in the closing thoughts of today's episode, I want to remind you of the question, what are you giving to your audience in addition to what you're asking for from them? Use your knowledge and the expertise that you have to provide value to an audience that you can grow. Share with them the things that they're looking for. Show them the path to resolution, as they say in storytelling, right? Show the hero of their journey what they need to do in order to make a greater impact in their own life and take themselves up and out of the dark place that they may be in, or to get some additional security and safety for the retirement funds, or for their asset management, or for their future planning, whatever it might be, right? Address your audience where they are, understand them, create a content plan, engage and iterate as they ask for more, and then repurpose that content on all your social media channels, in your email, and other places that continues to position yourself as the authority in your field. But first and foremost, stay consistent, because that is what's going to build trust. So hopefully you found this valuable. I know that many of you are probably thinking and saying, I should be doing content. I know I could be doing content. I really need to be doing content. And that learning curve feels like a lot. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments. Be happy to help, tell you about how you can launch this off there. But really, it's that first step that's the hardest step. So just do it. Sit down and try it. I promise you the first few are not really that great. At least that was the case for me. They're out there, you can find them, and it's kind of embarrassing. But we all have to start somewhere. The problem is not how bad it was before. The problem is just not starting at all. And then once you do it, it becomes easier. You get better at it, and you start to find your rhythm and your voice, and it becomes more and more accessible to be consistent and to come up with topics and things to talk about. So, as always, again, I'd love to hear from you. You can drop it in the comments, send me a message, whatever it might be. But please consider the idea of using content to grow your brand. Stay consistent and repurpose the information that you're creating to constantly and consistently engage with your audience. If you found this helpful, I would love it if you could like, subscribe, share. Let's reach more people as we can to get their voices out there, to share their expertise, because there are plenty of people out there who are waiting to hear from you and to help them solve their problem. So until next time, keep elevating and accelerating. Cheers.